We're joined by one of Britain's most controversial and funniest comedians, quite rightly calls himself Scotland's Jesus. Would you please welcome Frankie Boyle? Frankie, how are you?
I'm very good. Hi.
Now, when you tweeted about this session, you said, "I can't begin to tell you what a suicide vest of a performance I plan to give at this."
I'll look at this. I might have to go around and stab everyone individually.
I'll tell you what, you should see the train down to London, though. That is rammed.
Rammed
Absolutely
with
rammed. But before we start talking, let's take a look at the man himself in action. And as always with Frankie, some viewers may find some of the following images distressing. So, Frankie, we're going to talk a little bit about your career, especially your TV career. Then we'll move on to... Go on.
No, do a post-mortem on that, why not?
Exactly, well, we're doing with CSI Frankie Boyle. We'll then start talking a bit more about general TV and stuff that's happened at the festival, and then some more controversial subjects at the end, and then questions from everybody. Okay. So, you used to be on TV an awful lot, all the time. Now, you're on TV slightly less.
A lot less.
What's your take on why that is?
Partly it's just a kind of thing of changing climate. I mean, I kind of always thought it was like a constantly evolving thing, you know, before you get into it. But as you get into it, you sort of see it as there's little blips where stuff comes through that's interesting or edgier, or however you want to describe it. And then that closes up quite quickly. And the little blip I got in on the back of was actually off the back of The Office. So The Office came out and people went, "Oh yeah, let's do stuff that's a bit more like that. Let's do, like Jimmy Carr then was on telly off the back of kind of being associated with Ricky Gervais, and then people were like, "Oh, who's like Jimmy Carr?" And I think that's kind of where I came from.
So you're like Jimmy Carr?
Well, I was writing for him at the time, so...
And you don't think that some of the controversy that has followed you around has scared off certain commissioners?
Oh yeah, but I think they're pretty scared anyway. I think they're generally scared of content, and their main motivation is to avoid controversy, so that's not great for me.
But why do you think that is? Why do you think if you were a TV commissioner, if you were a TV commissioner for any of the UK channels, would you commission a show from you, or would you be frightened?
Well, a lot of commissioners would, but the problem is they have to take it upstairs to somebody, and it's like taking it to somebody's fucking mad aunt, who just give you... I mean, the last feedback I had on a pilot was, it was set in a theatre, and the feedback from the person whose vote mattered was, "I don't know if theatres exist anymore." And like, to me, that's like a line from a Harold Pinter or something, you know? "I don't know if theatres exist anymore, mate." And there's nothing that you can really do with that. And there's a layer of people whose job it is to kind of reject things that are interesting. And the trouble is that layer is at the top, you know? If you have someone who's called a comedy commissioner, they should be allowed to commission comedy. And if you have someone who's called head of comedy, like Chamber 2 or Shane Allen or whoever, right, who are brilliant people, let them commission shows. That it should be their say, you know?
See, the interesting thing about you is we've all worked, sure, lots of us, we work with lots of presenters who we know to be heartless sociopaths, but as soon as they go on telly, they actually come across as very warm, and the public takes to them. And I've worked with you before, and I can honestly say, you're one of the kindest, cleverest, nicest people I've worked with. But the second you go on screen, you become a heartless sociopath, you know, and that's how you're viewed. And if I was a commissioner, I would worry about that. So you don't see, to me, television, you have a responsibility that you don't have in your live work or your tweets, because it's such an invasive technology. It goes out into people's homes. Mm-hmm. So if you did Tramadol Nights, which was a big show for you, if you want to talk about suicide vests of a performance, that was very controversial, and lots of controversial jokes in that. Yeah. And you don't see that if you were very high up at a TV channel, you might balk slightly at thinking, this is the guy we want to give a chunk of our money to.
Oh, sure, I absolutely see that. But, I mean, all the risks on the jokes in that show are taken as calculated risks. So I think people sometimes think, "Oh, you're just running about saying the most horrendous thing you can think of." But actually what you're doing is making a very fine judgment of, if I did this, would it make this thing that's quite funny a lot funnier? And that's generally what I'm thinking. I think a lot of the assumptions I get come from a kind of class thing. There's definitely a thing in television where if you're a Oxbridge public school educated person with an English accent, you're judged as being playing with the idea of stereotypes or playing around with form, when often those people aren't. And you know, I don't think I ever get any credit for that.
You don't think you get so in terms of judgment? Let's take the most extreme example because you do millions of jokes. Let's take you did a joke about Katie Price and her disabled son Harvey, which is probably the most controversial joke in that series, and upset a lot of people, and not something I would have let you put on TV. I have to say. What judgment was used when you thought that's something that I'd like to put on the show? Who was involved in that decision?
Well, everybody. So it got signed off by everybody. But I don't think in context there's anything wrong with that joke. I'm happy to do it in context. I don't think it's an ableist joke. It's a joke about Katie Price's twin prongs of her publicity campaign are her sexuality and her disabled kids. She's got other kids, I don't know what they're called. And I don't think they belong together. And that joke is a kind of gag reflex, a kind of horrified gag reflex. And it appealed to audiences as well, you know? If you're asking who made the decision, really the audiences that laughed at it on tour, you know?
But the tour is very different, isn't it? Because people have chosen, this I think is the big difference, people have chosen to pay money to go and see you, and they know what you do, they know what you like. Actually in television, you're in people's homes who actually they've just got the TV left on, is the truth. And so do you not have a different filter when you do things for TV?
Sure, but that's why you try and set up the context for TV. So the context of that show is there's a warning at the start saying you will be offended by this, not maybe, that takes place on top of a post-apocalyptic rooftop, and I'm standing in front of a burning peace flag. There's nothing there that says to the audience there's going to be a bit of something for everybody in this. I honestly, I think the thing is people don't realise how much we think about jokes. Not just me, but everybody that's in this kind of area of taboos. And one of the things I thought about that joke is very careful not to engage the disabled stereotype of autism, which is you don't touch people, you avoid people. It's the opposite of that, right? So it's not a strictly disablest joke. It's an attempt to say, this is a circus. The media that we're confronted with in this country is a circus. It comes off the back of 5 other jokes that make that point. And in context, all right, it's right out on the far line, but it's not something I think is unacceptable.
And so other jokes, so the trouble is though, when you do a joke like that, suddenly there's a flag which they run up and there's a go, Frankie Boyle, he's controversial. And then, so saying a different type of joke, which is a different sort of controversial. The other joke you got in trouble for was a joke about Rebecca Adlington's appearance on Mock the Week. Now that's a different sort of controversy, and anyone who makes panel shows, there's all sorts, people are firing stuff out all the time, and sometimes, people will go for a target, but you're comfortable with that joke still?
Yeah, and at the time, but also I tried to get them to not cover that story at all. So the reason, and you see this reported about of why do panel shows and comedians are a bit more ad hominem now, have a bit more of a go at people's appearance and so on, it's because they're not allowed to do anything else. So at the time of the Rebecca Adlington thing, they had covered the Olympics and Mock the Week for whatever it was, 10 weeks in a row, the build-up, the whole Olympics. And then they actually wanted to cover them coming back. And I said, I'm just not doing it. There's nothing more to be said about this. I'm not interested. Britain was involved in 2 land wars at the time. And I thought we should be covering that. And they said, well, we'll throw up a picture and you say something about it. So the fact that panel shows have become a bit more ad hominem gets remarked on all the time. The fact that they've stopped talking about Britain's various wars and military action abroad is completely unremarked on. And,
but do you think, though, that, they talk a lot now about banter. We've had all the Malky Mackay stuff and things like that, that banter is now an excuse to sort of be offensive to anybody at any time, and that maybe is what is catching out some panel shows. That
sure, but I hate banter, I'm the opposite of banter. I think about all this. It's all written. It's the opposite of banter. It's all written beforehand, And comedy gets conflated with a lot of things like banter, like internet trolling, and you think, no, this is something else. This is something that's very deliberate and carefully chosen. And you're choosing to conflate it sometimes with things you don't like because maybe, that sort of comedy isn't for you. It's not for everybody.
And you don't regret either of those jokes?
No.
If I was your producer, I would apologise for both of them being on the show, I have to say. I think both of them should have been edited out. What it says to me sometimes, if I might be so bold, certainly the Katie Price joke, I think someone at some point should have said, do you know what, Frankie, it's a really good show you've got here. People are not going to like this joke, let's leave it out. And the fact that no one was able to say that to you makes me suggest that maybe you had too much power on that and you were giving your opinion too forcefully on that show, which is a problem lots of producers have with talent. Do you think there's any truth in that?
I tend not to give my opinions forcefully. So a lot of people in comedy do, and they tend to want to be involved in edits. And I've almost never talked to a producer about an edit, and I've almost never been involved because I just don't see that as being part of my job. I just try and write the jokes funnier.
But as you say, so much preparation goes into your shows and so much preparation goes into the jokes that actually you do all that work before the show rather than after the show. So, you know, you're writing all of that stuff and there's not a point around that table that nobody at any point raised an objection to that joke going on the show.
But, I mean, think of...
In your memory.
Think of all the other things that we could get offended about rather than a joke that was told 5 years ago. You know, David Cameron, when he's next interviewed on television, won't be asked about what he's done about various disabilities. You know, bottom line, they've killed at least 2,200 people by bringing in Atos to assess people as fit for work when they're dead. And, you know, he won't be challenged on it at all. But comedy is something that people feel really happy about whipping, you know? Jason Manford was in the paper the other day. Jason Manford made an observation that's been made in, you know, pretty much... serious discussions. Last time I saw it was made by Michael Moore, saying, you know, that the Israeli-Gaza situation would have been sorted out if Israel had been given part of Germany. And suddenly Manford's Bill Hicks. Do you know what I mean? Oh, you know what my nan thinks about the ground invasion of Iraq? You know? And the reason that he's brought into that is because it's just a character. They just slot somebody into that thing and go, oh, a comedian said a terrible thing. Get over it and talk about something real.
Yeah, we can talk about both, though. People have time in their lives to have an opinion about David Cameron and to have an opinion about you and about what's on television.
So the last time David Cameron was interviewed by Andrew Marr, he wasn't asked about that.
Well, so that's different. That's not people. That's television and how television covers that sort of thing.